Hey, just wanted to share a little model of something that I've been talking to people about lately. It's for people who are in some sort of transition about coming from a space that's been really narrow. So that could be education, so going to school for something particular or going back to school for something particular, taking care of children or aging parents, being in a certain industry or sector for a really long time, or doing one particular job for a really long time. So when people are starting to consider changing that, they have a tendency to come from what I call like the narrow end of the funnel into like the wide end of the funnel. And so what happens is when people start looking at making that change, that wide part of the funnel gets super exciting and super scary. And that's when we know where you're in a good place because you're gonna need that excitement to move you through. But to look at the part that's scary, we wanna narrow it in just the right way. We don't wanna narrow it so tightly that you end up going back to something, or people go back to something that they've been doing before. But staying here really wide open is something that can be really stressful. So what I'm trying to talk to people about is like the things that narrow that funnel in are going to be things that logistically you want, how you want work to work for you, how much do you want to make, where do you want to be, what kind of culture do you want to have, do you want to work for yourself, do you want to work for somebody else, like it's kinds of nuts and bolts things. And then the other kind of narrowing comes from who are you in the world, what do you want to contribute, and those are the things I call threads. Not a new concept, but something that can really help in thinking about being a human being at work, getting to express yourself in your work in a way that feels satisfying and enjoyable, and that also creates a consistency through all these past things that you may have done, or from this narrow place to this wide open place. What we want to do is keep the energy and the motivation moving forward, so you're not kind of like stuck or paralyzed at that spot of like, okay, what's next? And then, but not so narrow that when you choose something, you've got to back out. Because I think that's where people get stuck. It's like, well, if I choose something, how do I know it's the right thing? Well, what if you don't have to choose right away, but you also don't have to stay stuck? What if you can narrow some things down that guide you in the right direction and do some exploration in there, and then let the mystery of life handle some of the rest of the details? So that's something that's come up a lot over the last week or so, and it's also in a workbook that I have called Weathering Work Change, and I'm gonna in September start a group. I don't really know anything about it just yet, but I'll let you know. But it's gonna be getting people together to talk that are going through work change, and to be able to support each other, and then have a structured, kind of facilitated somewhat environment so you can ask me questions and work together and have some community. So I'll keep you posted on that. As always, let me know if you have questions or if I can help.